What's going on, everybody out there? This is Grand Prix GTP02 here once again, up here at Humble Hyundai here in North Houston, Texas. Again, not a single surprise there whatsoever. And today, for y'all's viewing pleasure and entertainment, I would like to dedicate this particular walkthrough and tour to anybody and everybody who is a fan of the Ford-built full-size Panther body vehicles. Now, what do I mean by Panther body? Well, that was the code name given to certain full-size V8 rear-wheel drive sedans that the Ford Motor Company put out throughout the years. You had the baseline car, which was the domestic Ford Crown Victoria, which lasted for many a decade and is still in use today by many police agencies, taxi services, limousine agencies, and so on. And then you have the other cars from Ford's luxury departments. You have the Lincoln Town Car, which is still in use today by many a limousine service. And then finally you have this. You have the Mercury Grand Marquis. Now, there was a fourth edition made for a very limited production of time, which was the high-revving, high-output, and very brawny Mercury Marauder. Now, that was made in the mid-2000s and only lasted for a couple of years. But the one you're looking at here, this is a 2002 Mercury Grand Marquis GS. Now, the Grand Marquis came in two different trim levels. You could have either the GS, which is like this one, cloth seats, really basic as far as the options list goes, but then you have the LS, and the LS was what most people seek to this day. That's the one with leather seats, the upgraded stereo, possibly upgraded wheels, and even in cars that are a couple years newer than this one, they would have things like the LS Ultimate Edition with just about any and all options you could think of for that year range. But one of the things I personally like about the front end of this car is just the way it looks. It's that classic kind of old luxury car that you would think of, and I have always had a soft spot for these things. I mean, with that massive front end, the massive trunk, and such a roomy interior, not to mention it drove like a car from the 70s because you could turn the steering with one finger and it just felt like a boat going down the road. But that's not such a bad thing in the times of today, especially with the people who drive these cars. And let's face it, most people that drive these are, in their late years, probably 60, 70, 80 years old, and they just need a car to get them back and forth. Now, of course, this one here may not be perfect, but believe it or not, this one here that you're looking at on your screen is a one-owner, all-original Grand Marquis. Now, I know there are many examples like this out here in the world, more specifically some that have only about, 20, 30, 40,000 miles on them. And I know at this one with 96,000 miles on it, yeah, I know it's not the lowest mileage example in the world, but this is one of the first clean ones that I've actually seen here in the North Houston area. Now, of course, being in this sandy gold beige color, it is kind of your typical old person's car. But again, that's not such a bad thing because this is one of those under 10,000 bargain basement cars. But just because it's under 10 grand does not mean that it is cheap by any measure or standard whatsoever. So starting here at the front, you can see there are a few marks, like right here on the front. There's a small one here. There's a few rock chips here and there. And then the main one, as you probably have seen as I've walked around it, is this paint transfer right here. Now, this looks like someone may have bumped into another car, maybe into a garage door, but as you can see cosmetically, looking at the right front of it, there really isn't that much damage. I mean, the headlight's not even pushed out of place. Then again, it was probably repaired or something like that. This one does look a little bit newer than the one over on that side, but nevertheless, cosmetically, it actually looks in very good shape. Now, because this is the GS, it does ride on steel wheels with these chrome plated wheel covers. You could actually pull these things right off, and they do look very stylish. I do like that honeycomb design. Very nice. And all four tires are Michelin. They are all matching. These tire sizes are 225 60R16. I'm sorry for coughing. It's just I'm still getting over a little bit of a sickness here, but nevertheless, I know you guys always love these older vehicles, which I think is absolutely wicked. And we'll go ahead and take a look at the window sticker here, cover up the price, because I have included the link to this vehicle in the lower description box. And again, I'm not a salesperson. I just like showing you guys these cool cars. If you want to come visit Humble Hyundai and take a look at this vehicle, you can always check out humblehyundai.com, or you can visit us on location here on Interstate 59 North in North Houston, Texas. Now, looking at the back of this car, you can see again there's a few more scrapes, a few more scratches here and there. But again, that's all paintwork. That's stuff that can be easily taken care of. There's not a single dent, ding, crunch. There's really nothing on this vehicle that gives off that it was unloved, abused, really anything like that whatsoever. And to prove my point, these are the original keys to this vehicle. We only have one key and one remote right now, but that's not to say you can't get, you know, a separate key cut for the vehicle. As you can see, very old school style Ford key with the Mercury logo cut into it, and the original Ford remote. Now, I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to these cars sometimes, cars that make certain chimes, noises, and things like that. And this car has 2 series of chimes that will actually play via an alarm under the hood, whether you unlock it or lock it. So for instance, you want to lock the vehicle, which I think is awesome. Then you want to unlock it, a little bit of a longer chime. Just so interesting. I absolutely love that. So now we've had a good few walkarounds of the exterior of this car and a little bit of a history lesson on it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the interior, see if it's just as good as the outside. And usually when you look at the interior of a Grand Marquis, Crown Victoria, town car that's been really well taken care of, you're gonna look at something like this. No warping on the dash. The wood is all still in pristine condition. Even these seats, they don't have a single darn blemish on them anywhere. Just nothing. Even still got the original, non-worn out map pockets right in the front of each of these seats. Now, these may look like 2 separate seats, but actually, you can get in here, fold these little armrests up, and as if by magic, a 3rd seat belt automatically appears. So yes, you can fit 5 people, or actually 6 people in one of these cars absolutely comfortably. If you look in the back, of course you got room for 3 back there as well. And I always love the way the doors close on these things. It sounds like a vault door. It's just nice and heavy. Love that. But again, like I said, all this wood veneer here, none of it's been replaced. It's all original. It's got the beautiful silver trim that graces part of the wood interior. And then of course, in typical luxury American vehicle fashion, you do have a lot of powered stuff. You do have the typical power mirrors, power door locks. You got an automatic down driver's side window, along with the rest of the power windows and window locks. Got a power trunk release and fuel filler cap release down here. And then, almost like a Mercedes, you've got adjustments for the up and down. You can adjust this height adjustment here. You can also do different directions. And then, of course, also you got your power recline. Also, a nice little grip handle for closing the door. Now, I can't tell you how many cars like this I've driven where one of these is ripped off or it's in bad condition, but in this, it's still just wonderful. I mean, look at this. Even though the door panel here, a little bit warped, probably will need to be replaced maybe in the future. Up here on the top of the door though, nice padded soft leather here. The dashboard's kind of the same, little bit plasticky, but then again, you know, you've got like this sort of leatherized, not so much leather, it's almost like a vinyl, but it's still very nice and soft. And as you can see, no rips, no tears, no sun damage, no anything like that whatsoever. All the stalks are still in good shape, and it is manual tilting but not telescoping. Also, over here to the left, you've got your traction control, got your panel dim button, and also headlights. That all works. Just so much good stuff to say about this thing. Absolutely love it. Oh, and these seats, you just sit right on them and bam, you instantly sink into them. Now down here, you do also have a power lumbar support as well, which is definitely nice and usable in a car like this. I'll go ahead and show you proof of the miles. There you go. Just kind of between 96,221 and 222. So we'll call it 96,222. But I mean, for a car, again, that's under 10 grand, and you kind of expect it with a car like this. Most low mileage cars, most dealerships will put them over 10 grand, you know, if they have anything less than 100,000 miles on them. But in this, definitely a nice thing. Don't have a driver's side vanity mirror, but for the ladies who want to do their makeup, you do have one over here on the passenger side. Unfortunately, it's not lit. This car wasn't modern enough for today's standards just yet, But again, I love the fact that like this wood stuff, it's all in perfect condition. I just can't get over that. There is a little bit of wear down here on this kind of rubberized black material, but again, this car's what, 12, 13 years old now? So it's typical to be expected, but you do have the typical air conditioning controls. You've got different fan speeds, temperature in the middle. And then one thing I never ever understood about this car, put those down for a second, is that you want to turn the AC on. Let's say it's a hot day. You turn it on. Oh, well, it's not working. What the heck? You've got to turn it off of the off position and then go to max AC, normal AC, vent, floor, and so on. Whatever happened to just, you turn it all the way off here and you have to just turn it to whatever climate zone you want. I think that's a little bit ridiculous. My mom's 2001 Mazda Tribute actually had the same thing in it. Of course, you got a digital clock. You've got this beautiful single disc CD changer. I actually think it's a multi-stack CD changer, seeing the CD change button. So I think it's a multi-stack CD player in there. Anyways, that all works. All the air works. And one thing that definitely works is the motor in this car. That Ford-built V8 engine that's up front. Now again, we are low on gas, so I don't know how long I'm gonna let this one run, but anyways, contact. And again, not a squeak, rattle, really nothing from this motor whatsoever. Wow, the whole car just shakes when you do that. Wow. Love it. Absolutely love it. So before we go any further, I'm gonna roll that down. And the one other thing that is busted is the hood latch, but you can put that back in place, and as you can see, it still does work perfectly. And then we'll go ahead and lift this big, heavy, long hood here. See what we find underneath. And there you go, 4.6 liter. I think this is an overhead valve V8. Spotlessly clean under here. Running sweet. Sounds fantastic. A little bit of oil down there, but that's kind of typical to be expected of a car like this. But nevertheless, all still in good shape, though the gas shocks on the hood do not want to stay open at all, so we'll go ahead and let that fall. So while we let this thing warm up, now that we've started it and whatnot, let's go ahead and take a quick walk through the rest of the darn thing. These big, massive rear doors allow for plentiful entry, even for the tallest of people. And you can hear already, even though we're not sitting in it, the seatbelt warning light does keep wanting us to put our seatbelt on. You know, safety first, everybody. You got this beautiful little map pocket here in the back of both seats. It's almost like a pillow. You could pretty much sleep in the back of this car. It's so comfy. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody actually did. But nevertheless, you can see you got this nice little soft armrest here. Seats do not fold down, and for good reason, because the trunk is already big enough as it is. And since we can't open the trunk because the keys are obviously in the ignition, we use the trunk latch here, which works perfectly fine. And then the party piece with this trunk. Just absolutely massive. There's your spare tire up top. I'm sure that's almost brand new. Got your jack over there. A little bit of water in here because it is this rainy, muggy day out here in Houston. But I mean, look at the size of that. There's just so much room in there. It's amazing. There you go. Normally you just have to stick the key in there. It's no big deal. Now this car was also a non-smoking vehicle, so as you can tell by the blemish-free interior, there's no smoke smell, really nothing of that at all. No evidence in the rear compartment either. And finally, the right front passenger side. Now, of course, only the driver's seat is power adjustable. The Passenger seat is manual adjustable, but just look how much give these seats have to them. Look at this. They're like pillows. So comfy. Nice and soft. Love that. Typical glove box. Nice and big, but it's kind of spring-loaded, which is odd. Grand Marquis Precision Track. Not exactly sure what that is. Such a wonderful car. Love it. Alright everybody, so I'm glad you joined me here on this sort of wet, rainy Houston day to take a look at this beautiful 2002 Mercury Grand Marquis GS. If you want to find out more information about this vehicle, again, as I said before, I've included a link to this particular vehicle's ad on Humble Hyundai's website in the description box below. If you want to contact Humble Hyundai themselves, also I've provided the phone number and complete contact info as a separate entity within the description box. And I hope you guys have enjoyed all of our little tours here from Humble Hyundai, and we will continue to give you some more. So until then guys, hope you had a great time and thanks for riding along with us today. Take care everybody.